Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
Guys, what do you think the weirdest thing you've ever gotten at a tournament was? And don't say the flu.
Dang it.
Yeah.
I don't know, John. I don't get weird. People don't give me weird stuff. Maybe like a weird sticker that had nothing to do with Warhammer. They're like, here's a sticker. I'll be like, oh, thanks. Why is there a pony on it? I don't know. That'd probably be mine. Marty, do you have anything?
I used to play Legend of the Five Rings. I had tournaments where I came away with war banners and swords.
What the hell?
Yeah, dude, Legend of the Five Rings was dope. That's like when I first started my Warhammer career. That was like one of the very first card games to like release.
Do you know it's a miniatures game?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know
As
that
well.
until this year.
They had one, and I think they're trying to revive it.
Yeah, I play it.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was very interesting. How about you, Sammy?
Mine was probably Lube from a Magic the Gathering player who's upset at me.
That is
Okay.
wild.
Yeah.
Talk about another level of competitiveness.
Seriously,
My
he
God.
was lubing it up over there.
Surprised.
He was, I will not repeat what he said, but it went along the lines of like, some fuckery and some other stuff. That was about it. I won't get too much into it.
You know what would be great is like a bag of salt or like a vial of children's tears that you give to your opponents. I do have one from ABTT that I saw that was really weird, but I really enjoyed it. I'll share it after Giacomo's.
So I had this knife right here. I'm going to try to put it in the frame. This one is, it says Forcadia. This was made by Loomis.
I have one too.
Yeah, we had a few left over. And so now I have a 3D printed knife. It is kind of sharp. So, be careful. Like you won't like,
well,
kill
no one's
yourself
going to
with
touch
this,
it other than you, G.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Like I'm going to probably put this in the hobby room space, hang it somewhere at some point.
Yeah.
How about you?
So the final one, the best thing I've seen given out to tournaments was at the All Valley Team Tournament. I think it was Backstabbeth. Whenever they won, they gave their opponent a card saying like a congratulations card, and it was written, and they each had a message written by each of the opponents in it, like to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever they lost. Or no, whenever they won, they would give out a sorry for your loss card. And they would all write a message in it. And then whenever they lost, they'd be like congratulations cards. Very, very entertaining. And then they won Best Sportsman, So
Wow.
yeah, glorious.
That's fun.
Glorious. Yeah. So those are mine. But today we're here to talk about the Las Vegas Open. I am the head TO and tournament organizer. Giacomo is also a tournament organizer and the stream leader. We have Marty, who was our guest commentator for LVO, hopefully for more in the future. And then we have Sammy, who won the entire event with Warp Coven. Yes, you can put all of your hate about Warp Coven in the comments. I will not complain because comments are good, right?
Yeah.
If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you like and subscribe to YouTube, or if you're listening on a podcast, give us a 5-star rating wherever you may be listening. But yeah, we're looking to make this upcoming year, now that the ITC for this year has ended, bigger and better, right? For all of our events, and hopefully the same goes for everyone else. And if you don't go to events, this is still going to be a lot of fun because we're going to go over a lot of stuff, talk about, tournaments and tournament ethics and just really cool behind the scenes stuff, at least from an organizer's point of view. It's going to be good. So, I definitely wanted to talk about a few things that I learned at this event, right?
Ooh.
I'll go over 3 and then maybe we each go over it, right? One of which is if you complain about no one helping in your podcasts, setup and putting things away, people listen apparently to the podcast, and everyone helped put away things, and everyone helped do that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. We didn't get out of here by midnight. In fact, Sammy, you went after you won, what did you go eat?
A steak.
A giant one, right?
A big steak. Yeah, it was
Like
great.
a
Did you
tomahawk,
finish it?
wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was a big
Had a
tomahawk
handle
steak.
on
It was like this big. I was like, yeah, it's as big as my head, my giant ass head. So it was awesome. It's great.
Nice. Yeah. And then Sammy came over and helped us put everything away, you know?
What a gentleman.
After he ate, you know, he had to go replenish.
I had to go replenish. I don't
Coming
think I
back to
ate
clean.
breakfast that day.
Coming
Yeah,
back to clean up was just a flex.
Yeah.
Dakotah does a great event. I got to come help. That's how it goes.
Appreciate you. So that was fun. Apparently people listen to the podcast, which is something that I was unaware of, you know? But thank you for everyone. We learned a lot of stuff, about streaming and, getting better and doing different things, right? A lot of coaching, lessons and stuff like that. All positive, right? We also learned, I think the third thing is we learned a lot about the game. You know, there's a lot of rules, FAQ questions and other stuff. I think one of the most frequent questions was, how do we deploy? Because it came up like, do I deploy 4, 4, and 2? Do I deploy 4, 3, and 3? I was like, guys, I'm going to let another judge handle this one because I don't care. I don't think there's a big difference. I don't care if you go 4, 3, and 3, or if you go 4, 4, and 2. You know, I don't know. That was a very debated question, I should say. There was quite a few. Wow. Yeah, there's quite a few. We'll go over some of the main questions and kind of how we ruled a lot of them throughout the video. So that should be a lot of fun. I think I'll have to pull them up on here because we're using Discord for video, but that's besides the point. How about you guys? Did you guys learn anything at this event?
Yeah, I learned that I wanted to have more tools for players at the table. Like we have dice already, but I was thinking like, I wish I would have brought steppers and stuff a little earlier.
Yeah,
we brought them about
steppers.
maybe like day 2, around the end of day 2. And it just would have been nice to have them there from day 1 for everybody to use. If they needed it, so we didn't have to really like, can you make that move? You know, the arguments for those just makes everything run a bit smoother. I also learned that Marty's a beast and that I'm a hype man. He is the knowledge man for sure. I will just yell when I see cool dice. Exactly. That's what I do. And Marty's like, yeah, so they actually have this rule, which does this. And he explains everything. So shout out to Marty.
Yeah.
Thank you. I learned that YouTube and Twitch are very different streaming environments. I thought I really thought there'd be more overlap between Twitch chat and YouTube chat in terms of like, I think the first day we didn't have YouTube being simulcast.
Correct.
So we just had Twitch chat. And so I didn't expect many people to show up for YouTube when Sheldon put the simul stream on, and all of a sudden it's just like, wait, where'd all these people come from? And the vibe could be very different. It was just very interesting there. So definitely simul stream if you can get away with it, because just a whole different market.
That's fair. Marty, what was so different about the two chats? Because I was the tournament organizer. I was watching like, how many tables, G? 70 other tables?
Yeah.
Me, Mike, and Robert.
Yep.
You know, there was like, you guys had 1, we had 69, right? Well, that's a good number.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would say Twitch chat are memers.
Okay.
At heart. Like they are a rowdy bunch of memers, and in YouTube can also be rowdy, but they don't meme as much and they don't spam emotes.
Okay.
They tend to get into arguments with each other more.
Okay.
I don't have emotes. Give them emotes.
Well, I think we found the sweaty crowd, the YouTube crowd, I guess. I don't know.
I was baffled. I expect sweaty gamers on Twitch, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we have not simulcast. So this was our first foray into that. If I could speak, you know. How about you, Sammy? You won the whole thing, so you had to learn something, or did you just know everything going in, you know?
No, I definitely had to learn, I think, on the fly, the Void Dancer matchup very quickly. I don't have a lot. So my tournament journey consisted of a lot of Plague Marines, a lot of Void Dancers, some Higher Tech Circle, and then Blades of Cain, which unfortunately for me, I guess also fortunately, I practiced the Legionary matchup a ton. It was like my most played matchup. I went in thinking, yeah, there's going to be a ton of Legionary. There might be some Warp Coven, but I know the team. I'm good. And then I faced, I think, there was like 2 Void Dancer players in my my second day, and I was like, man, I don't even know what the heck. Like, what do they do? Like, I know they run at me. I know they can flip over stuff and hit me in the face.
They laugh and they use their Harlequin kisses to deliver the Harlequin kiss. Do you know what the Harlequin kiss is and what the monofilament is? Well, Sammy, let me explain it to you. No. It is a small device on your wrist that you inject into your opponent, and there's a monofilament wire, which is an extremely thin wire that it gets injected into the opponent's body, right, or into the villainous body, and immediately spreads throughout all of their internal organs and the rest of their body, liquefying it, and then immediately gets sucked back in within like I think it's like a quarter of a second or faster. So you just inject somebody, liquefy their insides with a small, tiny little wire, and then you pull it back. It is utterly insane, and so insane that elves laugh at it. Very cruel.
Well, I'm glad the people that died on the battlefield were my Zangors then. I don't think I lost one sorcerer this whole tournament. So
wow.
Oh, you know what? That's only in my first round opponent. He's a higher tech player. He blasted a sorcerer, I think was 5 crits. But beyond that, I don't think I lost a lot of sorcerers. So I'm glad the Zangors could feel that kiss.
And that was Stephen Swan was your opponent for round 1?
Yes.
Shout out to Stephen.
Yeah, shout out to Steven. Steven was great. He rolled some great Tesla weave charges or whatever they are, like they're D3, and I just lost. He just was rolling hot, and I was like, "All right, brother, you got this," because I don't think I got this one in the bag after you nuked a sorcerer for like 5 crits with your gauze. I was like, "This is done."
Dice do be like that sometimes.
Sometimes dice be like that. Yeah, and then I did have a highlight throughout the entire event. I had a homie. I didn't get permission to shout him out. But he brought me an enchanted blue, one of the old Citadel pots. It's back there in the mess that is pre-LVO. But thank you, brother. I very much enjoy Enchanted Blue, and I'm going to put it to very good use. Did you guys have anything that was like outstanding other than winning the event? That's pretty cool.
That is pretty big.
My highlight of my 3 days streaming was definitely the dog, the battle pug from the.
Was that round 3?
I think that was round 3 of day 1.
Mm-hmm.
The Ratlings versus Plague Marines.
Connor versus Zeke, yes.
Yep, and that little battle pug, it scarpered because it can, unlike the Ogren, and then it charged just barely enough, and then it just bit both hearts out of that Plague Champion with a crit. It was the only thing that could possibly take him down, and it didn't win the game, but it definitely made it a feel good go home moment.
Yeah, it won our hearts.
It was worth points too, so I mean, it was tournament relevant.
Did Connor name the dog?
No,
he did not.
Gosh, Connor, what are you doing?
I personally think it should have just been named Iggy. I think it should just be a JoJo reference.
Okay.
It's just that dog has to stand. That explains everything. We're done. Just a big, ugly, dopey pug, and then all of a sudden you're dead, and everybody's standing around like, what the hell happened?
You've cursed the dog to die later.
No, the dog
Spoilers, Giacamo. Spoilers.
The dog never dies. The dog only gets incapacitated. Okay.
Seriously, it is hard to kill that dog. It runs away all the time.
But I think people underestimate that. I mean, you just assume it's kind of it's only got 4 wounds, so it can't be much. And then it's no, it's got 4 dice hitting on 3s with 4 on a crit. It'll finish somebody off. There's just a little bubble around it, especially with Scarper, where you're just oh hell, if I get within 12 inches, this dog is going to Scarper, charge, throw 4 dice at me, likely crit me, and if I'm on 4 wounds, I'm just dead. It's a no-go zone.
Fair. Sammy, you have anything that you absolutely loved?
I think all my opponents were great. That's what I love the most. I mean, Kill Team at its core is a social event. So for me, it's like, getting to meet new faces, getting to meet people that I've talked to online. I met people from the Pacific Northwest that I've talked to for a long time. I met a lot of people that last year I became friends with. So for me, it's like just meeting the guys, seeing people again. Genuine vibes. Vibes is the outstanding thing. Everything about Dakotah does for the vibes for LVO is always immaculate. So I mean, I always enjoy it. That's why I try to come back. So
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah. How about you, G?
Honestly, a lot of it
Favorite
was
moment?
like the raffle and giveaways. And when people just win awards that they weren't expecting to win, like they try to play it off cool, but like you see it in their heat in their faces. Like they're just like they get really excited and don't know what quite to do. Yeah, they don't quite know what to do. Like, I can't believe I just won this.
No, I didn't get best sportsman. What?
Right, like things like that. Exactly. Yeah,
I didn't get best painted. What? Oh my god!
It's exactly those moments, and we have photos which we'll be releasing on our Instagram and on Discord and stuff like that, so you can check those out.
And the finals also had an award ceremony. So
Yes.
I think that's at the end of the stream. We're going to chop it up and release them as YouTube videos. So if you want to go back through and watch each one of the 9 rounds and check out everything, then you can do that as well. I think G's going to come over to my house one of these days, and we're going to chop all the videos up at once.
Yep.
So
Make
like
it
Master Chef.
Yeah, there we go. That's
Shout out to Gordon Ramsay. That guy. It's pretty cool.
Then YouTube will have access to the day one games as well.
Yeah. One of my, I think I want to shout out a few things that I think are absolutely astounding about the event. We had nearly 2,500 games played at this event. And that's between narrative. In fact, we had more than 69 tables to police because there was also 12 narrative tables, right? Or I think only 11 because 2 people didn't come. But I think that's like, it's insane that we had 2,500 games played. Last year we had 2,000 games played. And it just shows like just 27 more people just added an extra 500 games to this event. I'm disappointed that we didn't get a balanced data slate specifically because I think that this event, 2,500 games of data is invaluable to Games Workshop.
Mm-hmm.
But, it is what it is. This is the world we live in. This is the game we play. But I think having that many games and only really having to give out very, very few cards for various reasons at the event is actually just like, something amazing. I think that there's like a lot of stuff out there that, boo-hoos competitive events, and I don't think that's always the case. Sure, you might run into a ding-dong here and there, right? Because ding-dongs exist in life. You're going to run into them when you're working at Ralph's, or if you're just visiting Ralph's, you might run into a guy who just doesn't want to move his cart. He's a ding-dong, right? But, I think that our community is great and growing in the right direction. And I think just with a little bit more guidance from community leaders and from people that the community looks up to, Kill Team will continue upon its trajectory up. So,
Beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah. Marty's the real commissar here. He's right behind me with a gun. But I mean, this event really did a lot of crazy things, right? It solidified number 1 in ITC, number 2 and number 3 this year. We had Hobby Track. We had the winners of that. First, second, and third were there. I was third, so I was there. I wasn't participating. And there was just like a lot of good vibes. A lot of people came together from all over the world. And I really hope that they all got to go home and tell their friends how awesome the event was. Is there any shout outs that you guys think competitive or at least LVO deserves that I might have missed?
I spent like the whole day 3 days shouting, so I'm shouted out.
There we go. So, I wanted to go over a few other things that we loved before we get into like Sammy's like total run with Warp Coven, his real submarine. You know, he's submarine hard, my guys. I really loved the award ceremony. That's like always my favorite bit, where we get to give away and celebrate the champions of the hobby, competitive, sportsman, all that alike. My second one was seeing everyone that I don't get to see all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third was probably getting Enchanted Blue. That's pretty dang rare.
That's very rare.
It is. Do you guys have your top 3 loved parts of LVO this year?
Yeah, there is like always a big enthusiasm for the game, which is really nice. Like whether it's just people telling me like, I think I'm going to try this strategy against my opponent today, and they're really excited to share exactly what the strategy is before the round starts. That's always a fun one. Breaking records, becoming the biggest event that we've ever had, and always the painting showcase. Like when you get to see what people are cooking up at home and then bring to you, and it's astounding.
For me, I think the one I already called out was the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Battle Mutt is is bestest boy, Emperor's
Mm-hmm.
bestest boy. I also really like the just how elaborate and amazing the NPO structure was for the narrative events. Like we got a new edition with new NPO rules and then leveraged that to make this fantastic narrative campaign. There was even a featured match using the narrative stuff as a 4th bonus game on day 1. People should check that out if they can. And then my third love, I'm going to say it's Melty's Purple Orcs.
Yeah.
The Purple Orc Wrecca Crew. Unbelievable. Check that
Absolutely.
out in the Hobby Track highlights.
Yeah, they're quite amazing. And Games Workshop awarded him with a prize too.
Yeah.
Oh, he did? That's awesome.
Yes, he did go home though. He forgot to go pick it up. So I had to figure out how I was going to get it.
Told him to stay.
Nope.
Dosh
No, he was just wearing purple. Nobody saw him.
He tried to get up there, and he was like, "What? You know?"
He was definitely being a sneaky orc. You know, that's
Yeah.
how it goes. Sneaky orcs wear purple.
How about you, Sammy?
I think for me, it really is still just the hanging out with people and being able to see people, because as Dakotah told me earlier, I'm a little hidden away in my Bay Area little squad. We have this like little squad in the California NorCal area.
Who is in your squad? It's John Boudreau, Shay McNay,
Yes.
and who else?
And there was Connor. I forgot his last name. Eric Fries that went. Wyatt, and then Wyatt's friend. There was about 7 of us that went. That was, I love hanging out with those guys. I mean, I see them pretty much practically every week. But, for me, it's the vibes. It's just really coming out to see people like Blaine, who I think is from the Midwest.
He's from Wisconsin.
Yes.
It doesn't get much more Midwest than that.
Six-Sided Legion is the YouTube channel. They're awesome.
He's in the Packers.
They're great. Excuse me. But he's all the way out there, and I talk to him all the time online. The guys from the Pacific Northwest, like Zach and Sean and all those guys, Kid Crew, they're all from up there. I don't get to see them often, so it really is just about meeting friends and seeing old faces and trying to make new friendships. I think this year a really big highlight was the Denver guys. I've never played against any of them.
Colorado Springs guys, they were awesome.
Yeah. And I played against about 2 or 3 other players, and every single one of them was just awesome. They were some of the nicest opponents I've ever had. They were, really, we just, it was a friendly game all around, even with me playing Warp Coven and being a little, just being a Warp Coven. There's some stuff that, we always try to talk and communicate and trying to be like, friendly. And every time after the game, I was just like, man, that was great. And I felt like they had a great time. I'm speaking for them, of course, but our interactions felt good. So, but yeah, those are my outstanding things because, LVO just brings so many people from, I think I played a guy from Mexico City. It was crazy to me thinking, man, he came all the way from Mexico City for this tournament.
I think Juan and Mario, I believe.
Yeah, they came
from.
Yeah, they came all the way from out there, and it was like so cool to, see someone from a totally different country come out for LVO. It's just meeting all the new faces, really. It's just, that's my vibes about it. It's just, or that's what I love about it. It's just going out and, meeting people. So.
Sure. And all the Canadians that came through, John Reese from England,
Oh, yeah.
pretty cool. International event. Pretty cool. I think as an organizer, which is like a different take on the things that I really enjoyed about it, was being able to have to talk to Games Workshop staff, being able to solidify relationships with people at FLG, and also being able to go into the sponsor room and pick up things from Gamers Grass and AK Interactive and Tooth and Codes, and being able to thank their personnel personally rather than just through an email for their sponsorship of the event, and then telling all of our players to go and thank them as well. I think that sponsorship for events goes a long way, and without sponsors, we have no prizes other than the stuff I make, right? Which sometimes people have. If you go to enough of my events, you're going to get some free stuff, but it's really interesting being able to continue to solidify and network and make connections, even if you're running an event. Also, as organizers, we went out to Meow Wolf. We went out, which was cool.
That one was weird, but
what is Meow Wolf?
So Orion showed me what Meow Wolf was in Dallas, Texas, when I went to go to the GW event, and it's an interactive art museum. But it's just like trippy, and every single one is super different. This one is called Mega Mart. And like when you walk into this place, it's just crazy. You literally can't explain it. Like you have to go and just experience it. And it's just like, sometimes there's like a mystery that you're solving throughout it, but it's completely unguided. There's like, you could spend 30 minutes or 5 hours in there trying to figure stuff out. And it's massive. It's crazy, overstimulating. In fact, since it's so overstimulating, there are rooms that you can just go and just relax. My feet hurt so bad. I was just like, I'm going to sit down for a while. It's pretty fun. Pretty cool.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
Check it out if you're in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few things that I think we lacked at the event, which we'll go over. I think that, there are some things that, I'm sure the majority of people know happened on stream, and there's a few other things that happened at LVO, but we value player privacy. Everything's been handled internally. We don't need anyone else, going around talking about that stuff. So all that stuff has been handled. It has been witnessed and has been seen. But as tournament organizers, we have squashed that. Also, we have a few things to tighten up on our communications, and some things that happened or were said on Twitch that don't necessarily align with the brand. And those will no longer be an issue in the future. We've done a lot of coaching and things behind the scenes to make sure that all of that stuff gets buttoned up. It's mostly my lack of leadership that I did not do as many meetings with the media team compared to how many meetings I did with the judges team. I did forget to shout out the judges. The judges were the best judges I've ever had at this event. Mike and Robert were legends. And Mike was just like this little encyclopedia, right? I'm like, yo, Mike, what? This guy's telling me this. Is this true? And he's like, yes. I'm like, really? He's like, yes. And I'm like, thank you, Mike. Or if there was like a really weird rules interaction, I knew I could go to Mike and he would always be there. Robert just has the best core fundamentals of the rules, and they're both extremely smart, both smarter than me. Let's just put that out there. Okay. But I know how to pick them, right? I put them in the right spot, and they can help support me, and they can help support all the players to make the best decisions possible. And for some crazy FAQ interactions, we would all like huddle up together and we'd all discuss and try and figure it out together. If something was like absolutely wild.
The rules are so new. They're just like, they came out, like 2-3 months ago. So the judges were great about handling a lot of the new interactions, which I know carried on into this edition. Like, there's just so much that, wasn't true last edition that is now true this edition. It's like, so it's great to have, the judges were great this year. They were awesome.
Yeah, and then there was a lot of questions about certain things about terrain that I didn't have time to necessarily put out like a full PDF about certain features and stuff like that. I tried to do my best, but also, another place that we lacked was a PA system, right? We're going to be investing in a PA system so I don't have to blow out my voice and everyone can hear me. The first 2 days, I tried to do this thing where everyone would circle me because I felt like everyone could get closer. But everyone was like, oh no, 6 foot rule. I'm like, guys, just like become kindergartners and come close to me, but it didn't happen. Day 3, I ended up going into the corner. Don't know if that helped, but a PA system is something that we're looking at. And same with making sure that we get a big old screen so we can put up the rounds and the timers for the rounds, or what Games Workshop does, invest in cards that give you every single round for the entire event. So a couple small things that we want to identify and just make players' lives a little easier. Probably also on those cards have the round timers when people should be coming back from lunches and stuff, because sometimes it was unclear because we had to do a couple repairs on day 1. We had a couple people come in late. And I knew they were going to miss round 1, possibly round 2, because their planes got canceled or they lost their models because of the flights. So they had to go buy models at the secondhand store and play with those, so on and so forth. A little rough, but
it's rough.
Yeah. There's a couple things that I think we need to button up, but I think overall, for we sold 174 tickets, 158 players showed up. I think that for a small team of 3 and a couple volunteers, I think we smashed it out of the park. Overwhelmingly amazing jobs. Is there anything that you guys think that lacked, either personally or with LVO itself or in your own performances? What do you guys think as a retrospective?
Yeah, like looking back, there was some things on the stream I wish I would have responded to at a sooner rate. And again, that was on me for not thinking about it. But looking back, that's what you do. You miss and you learn from what you miss. And if you don't, well, that's not a good sign. So yeah, that's what I look back when I think about LVO, because otherwise it pretty much went out without a hitch.
Mm-hmm.
From my side, I think I lacked experience. That's my first time doing anything like that. Winging it.
How was it, Marty? Did you enjoy winging it?
Oh yeah,
I did. I
did
did enjoy
the
it.
lack of guidance.
I mean, on the one hand, I was just like, I'm but a humble cabbage merchant. What do you want me to do?
Humble meme merchant.
And he
Thank
started
you very
fighting
much.
the dragon in Skyrim. Like when NPCs do that.
Oh no,
he did it anyways. He didn't even die.
It's just like, I got a book here. Like, sometimes like your chat nanny to some extent. And then times players are just like, hey, does this really work that way? And you're like, why are you asking me? And you're like, you have a book and a computer. And I'm like, all right, I'll go look in the computer. But that was not something I was necessarily, not necessarily prepared myself for. Sure. It wasn't overwhelming, but I know with preparation and the experience I have now, I can do that better. And maybe we can have separation of concerns and things like that with it. Because there are a couple of situations where I'd much rather have called Mike or one of the judges over there that was a floor judge and be like, how are you guys ruling this on other tables? Because I haven't gotten off. I've been glued to this chair for 3 days. I can't feel my legs.
Yeah.
That sort of experience. I think we need to get them little vests, little reflective work vests, and just be like, that's a judge. That's a judge. You over there in the yellow, come over here, please.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to make sure that judges are a little bit more visible and
conspicuous. That's the word.
Yeah, I've also made the decision to make sure that the stream and the stream team has nothing to do with the games anymore. Just to make sure that we can make sure that we separate Twitch chat, because Twitch chat and YouTube chat are not playing in the game, right? They can sit there, they can comment, they can say things. But in the end, the two players are playing, and the two players should be calling a judge, judges that have been officiating and ruling certain calls certain ways the entire time. And if there's a misplay or something like that, a streamer or something gross or out of scenes come up, they obviously a streamer can come get us. But in the end, I think there needs to definitely be a wall of separation. And I think sometimes we, over the past year, might have gotten more comfortable with our battle reports, because our battle reports, we interact with Twitch stream. We talk to them all the time, try to create more entertainment. But in the end, tournament battles and tournament battle reports are not necessarily there for full entertainment values. The players are mostly there so that we can spectate them, see how they play, so on and so forth. So I think it's just two different vibes and two different elements that we have identified some problems with, that we can just, nail out and fix for the future, all future events. And hopefully anyone else who's watching this, looking to stream stuff, the same thing. And unfortunately, I think one of my most unfortunate takeaways is from this is that I think top table and probably semifinals probably has to have a dedicated judge watching. And it's rather difficult when you only have 3 judges watching 79 plus tables or 70 tables, right? For LVO, it's more of a challenge. For other events, it might be as well. But unfortunately, I think it does have to happen, even though technically those should be the least watched, because those two players got there supposedly, knowing the rules and all that. I'm not saying that top tables got rules wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, two players definitely want to win. And I think that we can address the community about that kind of stuff at another date, another time. But sorry for the rant. I have lots of opinions and they're locked away in my brain. How about you, Sammy?
I need to learn how to click the clock.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I read the comments later in the stream and I was like, I as a player am pretty quick. I think after I've learned a team, when I'm learning the team, I am the slowest. I'm the slowest player. Like people will think I'm sandbagging them because I'm so slow when I'm learning a team. But like Warp Cup and I played so many times, I was like, whatever. Just click the clock when I want to click the clock. And I just forgot about the clock. Like I think almost the entire time. And people are like, the disparity between the time is so large. I have a very bad case of forgetfulness because my ADHD is just wild sometimes. When I'm thinking like, I have 25 units on the board, I have to think this guy's going here so he doesn't get shot from this angle and all this other crap. I'm not thinking about the clock. I'm just like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. It'll work itself out. But the clock for sure. It's like the thing. I need to do this motion. I was telling my teammates, I'm like, yeah, I need like when I'm playing games, I hope you don't mind that if I clock you, it's for me, not for you. So I don't forget. And I have people screaming at me. They're like, Sammy, the clock is going. I'm like, oh my God.
It is also on your opponent to notice if the clock is not running correctly for them to tap it to you as well. So there is a bit of sportsmanship. Now it's not on them entirely, right?
Of course.
But if there was that much going on, perhaps your opponent should have also noticed your clock running incorrectly and tapped it to the correct side. That is something that, people need to be aware of, is that when you're playing a game, you're playing it co-op, you're both playing. It shouldn't just be on one person to remember everything all the time. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I didn't know that. So clearly I know that I'll have to take that consideration. There's just
etiquette.
Etiquette. There's so many things about the game that when you play at a top level, that you don't remember. I will say that my journey to top tables has been a little different from others. I've been pretty insulated in my community, but also like I play TTS and, all that stuff. But even then, right, a lot of that stuff is you're not like timing each other. That's just not a thing. Typically it's happening. So, it's not in my wherewithal. So I, maybe some kind of ethics guide on that stuff I think would help to clear up stuff. One. Oh, I didn't read it. I'll be honest.
TLDR.
I just try to be a good human being. That's what I feel like is like the best ethics.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way. You don't have to read an ethics guide as long as you're a good guy.
Yeah, try not to be an asshole. That's my motto with this kind of stuff. So that's a big one. I also think my communication, I need to be more clear and direct. Speaking about a little bit about the last game, I think the way I phrased the question to Chris, definitely seemed a little ambiguous for him for, all intents and purposes. So it's definitely being clear on the communication front, which has always been a challenge for me and myself. It's just, I will go through the thought process and I'll say a lot of things. And then people are like, what the heck actually do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know. Honestly, I'm just speaking out loud. So, that part of it. And because Chris apologized directly after. He was like, man, I didn't really know what you were trying to refer to. And that's on me. And it was like directly after the game. So, he's spoken that a little bit because, me and Chris do know each other. I think, God, when did I play him? I think I played him 2 years ago. Like he was one of my
first
West
West Coast champs.
And at West Coast Champs, yes, recently. But Chris has always been very, very helpful in my journey of learning the game and stuff like that. So, a part of it was like, this was happening, and it also is just being streamed. I think for both of us was like very stressful. I have never been streamed in my life on a kill team game. So when I was told I was going to be streamed and it was for the final game, the nerves kicked in like really quick. Yeah, it was and then the chat was asking me questions and I was like, man, I can barely focus on if Chris is going to kill my Zangor right now. I don't know what's happening on your side of the screen, but for me at this moment, it's definitely stressful. So I think those are my big learning points is like the clock and communication. That's about it for me. Eating breakfast. I'll say that. I got to eat breakfast in the morning. I know some people that were just like woke up and raw dogged the morning, and I was one of them because I was like, I got to get to the tournament venue hall, guys. Like,
that was me too. I raw dogged a lot.
Yeah, and I need to like prep like sandwiches in my hotel room or something so I can eat something and not feel like I'm like round 2 in and I have nothing to eat, guys. Like, what am I doing? How are we playing the game? So yeah, that's definitely those are my 3 big L's to learn from. That's
fair. I will say that I think you very much clarified yourself with Chris. After the thing, right? So I think there's definitely some miscommunications on both ends, but from when I watched your interaction, I think that maybe you weren't clear at first, but then you did clarify. You did clarify yourself, and I thought you were very clear about your interaction. I think another shout out has to go to Mike, right? The judge. He definitely witnessed and was like, yo, you guys don't have like food ready for lunch? You don't got breakfast ready? Like, we have to go, and he was able to, since he's a local, he was able to go out, get food for the team. He got lunch for us on day 3, and he brought it in the morning, some sandwiches and some donuts and stuff. And I realized that's something that I can do. I can go like a long time without eating and I just get bitchy, right?
I was dying on day 1, man. Absolutely dying.
Yeah. That is a weakness that I have as a staff, because a lot of times, like, I'm just like, hey, fend for yourselves. I just need like caffeine and focus. I just hyper focus with my ADHD brain. And that's something that we definitely lacked on, was being able to treat the staff a little bit better. I'm not saying like I did it on purpose. It's just, that's just how I am,
We're just in here in our corner, glued to our chairs with no food for 15 hours. It'll be fine.
Marty,
it worked out.
See, I'm good.
Out, but
yeah.
No, it worked
Marty's
out.
babysitting the YouTube chat, being like, yeah, guys, this is how it goes. And he's like being suffered and no food to substances nannying right now.
No bathroom bucket, nothing.
We didn't even bring us the bucket. No, it all worked out. It all worked out. I was a little bit more prepared day 2. I brought Cheez-Its for Giacamo and I.
Yes, thank you.
I just had to make sure the camera wasn't on us while I'm trying to eat those. I'm just like,
I was doing it on camera. I didn't care.
I saw myself eat once on camera, and I think I was drinking a water bottle or something. I'm like, That is the doofiest face ever. Please don't clip this. And I just
Now they're going to. It's what's the Streisand?
People are going to go back and be
Doomed.
like, look at Marty's doofy face while drinking water.
I mean, you could have just stopped at look at Marty's doofy face. I mean, it's fine. I'm here for the radio voice, not for the face.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Sammy, talking to you a little bit about your tournament run and kind of like how you were able to get there. And did you do any kind of like massive prep, or do you think West Coast Champs really helped you? Or like, what was your journey just going to LVO for those that are looking to like win big events or anything like that? Or do you just have like a bunch of innate natural talent? Wow. You know, like what's going on?
Definitely not that. I am a competitive grinder at heart. I played StarCraft 2 competitively. I play Street Fighter 6 competitively right now. A lot of it. DJ, that's my guy.
Sick.
Right there. DJ, that's my guy. And when you're playing those types of games, and also like League of Legends, it's just there's so much information. Like the information is here. And like you're here, like you're at the bottom, and you have to meet the information. And to do that, a lot of it is going out and talking to other players. And shout out to the CPTS Discord. I think it's like Command Point or something.
Yep, Command Point. Shane and Ryan
Shane.
run it.
Yep. That's where I started out in my journey and being a competitive player, because I was here and I was like, I have no clue what the etiquette is, how to play in real life, all this stuff. And the only way I could get it was going to TTS games and finding it, because I didn't know about my community here quite yet. And that's how I started. And I just was berating people. I would say berate, but it was more very kindly annoying them all the time. Be like, hey, like, how do you do this? And, like, what's all this information about?
That's
and
badgering.
For like badgering. All right,
Berating's what they do.
Sammy
Berating's what
the
they do to
Badger.
you when you
There
don't
we
know. How do you not know that you have to hit your chess clock with the same hand you moved your pieces?
Okay, Magnus.
So I did a lot of studying before the tournament. And I will say, like, the competitive scene, especially in California, is a little. Everyone has a little own pocket of knowledge. Like, I know Kill Team down in LA all of them are world class players, so they have a completely different view on how the game is operated. But like someone like Dan Barden, who won Worlds all the way out in England, has a completely different view on how they would play. So I try to like take snippets of knowledge from everywhere because. Everyone is very willing to give information and learn. That's like the big thing. When I went to West Coast Champions and I played Jeshua and Jimmy, they were very willing to give me information on like, this is what our teammate is doing. I forgot his name, unfortunately, but how he's, I don't know, it was not Kellen. He didn't come to West Coast Champions.
Jason Steinke.
Yes, Jason.
He's a beast as well.
He's a very good Warp Coven player. So they were like telling me what he might have done and his ideas, and it was really helpful because, like, when you only have one piece of the puzzle, it's like, maybe there's this whole other thing you're not seeing. So when I went to West Coast Champions and I learned that, and I came back and I practiced it. It helped open up my game style because Warp Coven is very flexible. They have so many ways to play. You could play with the 6 Zangors like I did on stream, or you can play with like 2 rubrics, and there's so many ways to play them. Innately as the pilot, you have to get as much experience as possible in all the styles to be able to be like, well, if I'm playing Void Dancers for a whole another reason, I have no idea how to play against, like, what do I do? And what maybe strategies work against this other team and stuff like that. So I think part of it also is experience from the past because I played the team in 2nd edition. Coming into this edition, like, I know Corsairs, they don't do well into Zangors. So I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, then Void Dancers might be the same idea. And, you sort of have to get a lot of that practice. So it's a part learning of the knowledge, and then part of me practicing just from
practical
last edition
as well.
Yeah, practical knowledge. So that's how I did it, honestly. And then also, I'm not gonna lie to you all, Warp Coven's got some bullshit that's gotta go. Like, what? There's no reason to have Seek on a guy that's like, hey, I can see you from here, and I'm gonna deal D1 to you for lethal 5. A lot of that also helped. But Warp Coven, I'm just so comfortable with it now after playing for so long, that it definitely helped in this edition, because everyone's still learning. Like I said earlier, everyone's still learning like what's the best thing and how do you do this with torrent and all this other crap. So it's like help the journey be less like this, like a really big journey, and much less, like right here where it's only just like a couple steps up. So that's about it, I think.
That's fair. That's fair. It's interesting you say some of that. When I went to Worlds playing Deathcore, right? I definitely tried every single type of roster. I was like, I'm going to take the bomb guy no matter what, because I think he sucks. Every single game, I'm going to try to make him work. And I'm going to flex into melee. I'm going to flex into shooting. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Didn't matter. They just suck balls.
Nope,
so
not a good team.
that's what I learned, painfully. 111 dead Kriegsmen, it is what it is.
It's a good start.
But we need 111 more dead bodies. But I very much agree with your thought process, especially behind the game. It's interesting because Kill Team, as a tournament organizer and as rules judge, right? It is so convoluted. There's a lot of rules. I feel like this edition is much easier to jump into, but competitively and at the high end, it's much more difficult. There's a lot of it almost is like Kill Team is its own language, right? And you have to understand what each keyword actually means. It's like conceal actually means this, this, and this. Engagement range means this, this, and this. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't mean that in the dictionary. You have to retrain your brain. And then when you're looking at a rule, right, there's a lot of times where you're like just looking at the rules themselves, there are certain hidden keywords throughout different things. And you're just like, oh, wow, this is hard, right? It can be difficult. And then Mike pointed out this one really crazy thing. I definitely did an FAQ before the event. I want to go over that a little bit, see how you think about it, Sammy. He was like, oh, psychic shooting actions are not considered psychic actions. And I was like, are they not? Why Games Workshop? Why are they not? Right? I was very upset. And then I was like, yeah, I don't know how to word any other additional nerfs. This is it. That's all the time I got. What did you think about
doors? Yeah. When is a door not a door?
True.
Half the time in Kill Team. Half the doors on Volcus aren't real doors, and some of them are, and then the doors on Gallowdark, it was just insane, right? The ruined doors are different than the stronghold doors.
There's some people that didn't know that you get -1 inch while moving through into the dark doors. And you're like, yeah, sorry. Games Workshop, they're British. They like to tax people, right? Yep. That's why we left them in the first place. So have fun with your Into the Dark taxes. I wouldn't have it, but I didn't make the game. So it is what it is. Sammy, what did you think about the changes, the overall changes for it? I can pull them up over here too.
Yeah, I personally felt like they were good. I think, unfortunately, some of it still wasn't super clear. Like the obscuring, for example, like I just took it as like if I was 2 inches out, I was obscured. But other people took it differently. I know I had not disagreements, but we had confusion on like how that exactly worked. But it was better than 1 inch. I'll tell you that much. Like 1 inch obscuring with 1 inch cover, all that jazz is ridiculous.
Some junk.
For me, the cover and obscurement thing, I think, is relatively broken. I don't know if its rules is intended by Games Workshop. At Worlds, a lot of the judges in every game that I was playing, you could not be inside of 1 inch of terrain and get obscuring. But in others, it was judged a different way. So I was like, I don't know how this is supposed to be run. We don't have an FAQ on it. So I tried to clean it up as much as I could. And essentially, if you're within 1 inch of terrain, you can either get cover or obscurement from it. If you're outside of 1 inch, right? And then if there's another piece of intervening terrain within 2 inches, that could grant obscurity if you're already gaining cover, right? So if that works with the corners, that works with strongholds and stuff like that. So
it's just unfortunate because it's not, even with that explanation, I'm still not 100% clear. And you're telling me the guy he's like made the FAQ for the tournament. And even for, it's just, there's so many, like you're saying, Kill Team is its own language. It's like, it's hard to know, but I mean, it never really came up because I just sort of ran at people, unfortunately. And all my opponents also had to run at me. So, it was less of an issue. The unique actions, the universal action thing, I think is a great change, honestly. It doesn't allow Warp Coven to be redundantly just saying, hey, I'm going to heal myself in counteraction after I've done it once.
Yep.
Shout out to all my Balefire Acolyte players out there. The primary selection thing I think is awesome because we need to make that clear because for whatever reason we have it chosen in the first strategic op. I don't quite know why, but it is. So making it clear to players that it has to be a thing is good.
That and Power Surge as well.
Yeah, Power Surge as well. Market placement is great because they did it last edition and then they didn't port it over this edition where markers have to be placed on the floor, which confuses me as a player because I thought it was clear and now it's not clear. Which, it's just showing, sometimes GW changes their mind on stuff, which is fine. I like to know. And then the counteract thing I think is great. I just think the only team that suffers from this is Vespits, which they didn't need
Necrons.
And Necrons. The counteract thing was great. I know.
There's also Corsairs with their Shade Runner.
Yep.
Oh, yep.
There's a couple.
There's a couple actually. Yeah, there's a couple. So I think honestly, all the changes were great. I don't think anything was out of the blue. For me as a Warp Coven player, I was sort of happy not seeing Warp Coven just as a line saying they lose certain things. And I was like, oh, yay, I get to play the team I've maybe been practicing. But
we'll wait 6 more weeks for that one. Hopefully.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just wait.
Games Workshop shows Shadow.
Games Workshop's going to come back out and just, knock me with a bat and just be like, this team is dead. Don't play it anymore. I'm like, okay. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's fair. Yeah, who knows? Maybe the nerfs are really light.
Could you imagine?
Warp Coven players can hope.
Tau Pathfinders -1 operative.
Yeah,
see you in 3 months, boys.
These poor Pathfinders, man.
Warp Coven -2 operatives. So definitely wanted to go over those a little bit. We did have a couple frequently asked questions that I'll go over. I don't know if we got them right. Who knows? I definitely know we ruled 1 as rules as intended over rules as written, because I think that's how it should be played. And I think that's the route that we're going to go. But as a judge and tournament organizer, if that's not, I'll take full responsibility. So for one, the deployment thing was a big question. I had no idea. Hand of the Archon, I already addressed with the Turning Point 1. Can you use Vitalize Surge if you've already performed a dash? Right, that was one. We had Rekkas, can a bomb squig blow up through a stronghold door if they're within an inch because they have visibility in control range? I ruled this as yes. I know that rules as written, Blast says no, but it makes sense that the rules writers seem to be saying everything within 1 inch blows up, right? Whether or not that is the correct ruling on it, it is what it is.
Doors are weird.
Yeah, we also had questions on if you start off with 6 Rekka points and you roll a 6 and you use them, do you generate? Or if you have 0 Rekka points and you roll a 6, can you use it in the same turning point? We said yes on both. For Angels of Death, for Dueler, let's see here. Oh yeah, for Dueler, can you use both bullet points once per fight sequence, or can you only use one of those bullet points a total of once per sequence? I think we ruled just once, but that one's relatively, we're unsure, there's no real, it's crazy because I think we did like a 4-hour video on questions when the edition first dropped, and none of those have been answered either. No. There's like the Games Workshop put an FAQ out for Worlds, which I linked in the packet. So there was quite a few things in that explained some things, but it was like a page long, So like, I was like, yeah, well, we have 4 hours of content of like, how do we play this game, So hopefully we can get more clarification in the future. For inquisitorial agents, Does intense scrutiny work against things like the Brood Brothers Psychic Familiars, Small, and other similar rules? Casterkin, what if both players seize the initiative? Right? I ruled that whoever had initiative last gets to do it, but it could just cancel each other out. Since they're using that in the strategy phase, no one has initiative, so you can't boil it down from page 55. So the closest thing I got is whoever had initiative last round, right? So I think Giacomo's favorite one is can Rekka's go through into the dark walls, right?
Yeah.
There's no rule on if you can or you can't on that. Let's see here. And most of these were compiled by Mike. I was like, yo, Mike, can you put together these questions? Cause I'm bad with English. And he's like, I got you, my guy. He didn't really say that, but
That sounds like Mike though.
It's a thought that counts.
Yeah. And then Phobos, does deadly shots work while performing the guard action against a target in cover? Does deadly shots work while counteracting against targets outside of cover? And does special issue ammo with custom bolt carbine on the veteran? Does it work with custom bolt carbine with the veteran? Now, I don't know anything about the Phobos because I did not. Those are not my questions. So those must have been specifically from Mike or things that he ruled on. But there was quite a few rules interactions. And another interesting thing is that everyone gets like really stuck in the mud about some small rules interactions that never come up at tournaments, right? So sometimes in Discord, realize you are arguing a lost cause that is only going to happen once in the entire edition's history. Hopefully it doesn't happen on stream and give the tournament organizer an aneurysm. Right?
Just a little aneurysm. It's fine.
Just the Higher-Tech Circle one, I know it wasn't talked about, but you talked about it in the past. That one was giving people an aneurysm because they were like, so where's the cover light? Magnify. That one.
Like who's the direction? Where is it hitting from?
Yeah, that one.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Space.
I don't really
It's
answer
hitting
that
you from
one.
space.
Maybe.
Exactly.
If a balanced data slate ever releases, we'll find out, maybe.
We can hope.
We can hope. So I think there's a lot of interesting rules interactions, interesting things for LVO, and I hope we got the majority of everything right. Realize that sometimes judges do get things wrong, and if we got something wrong in your game, I think I got 2 questions wrong. One that I got wrong was for a Hearthkin Salvager player. He had 2 models on an objective, and he was like, hey, I get +2 to my roll here because I hold this and I contest it. And I was like, actually, you only contest if like 2 models are actually contesting it. So you wouldn't get +2, you just get +1. That's wrong. Don't at me. I know it's wrong. Okay. He showed me the rules afterwards. A model always contests an objective, even if he's on it. Right. So you get 2 points if you just hold an objective, which is bewildering to me. Makes no grammatical sense.
The elf brain cannot comprehend.
How are you
logic.
contesting something that you already own? Right. I don't know. It's in the rules.
Have you ever tried to take anything a dwarf owns away from them?
No, I haven't.
It's a contest.
Marty,
that you'll lose.
Dwarves are not real.
Mm-hmm.
40K dwarves. 40K.
Wow.
40K dwarves.
Controversial take.
Yeah. I'm going to get written in the book again. I need a...
That's a grudging.
Bro, I walked up to Aiden and I asked him. I was like, yo, am I in your book of grudges? Because he has this brand new book. And I was so disappointed that he started a new book and I was not in it. Aiden, it made me sad. So you know. Sammy, is there any players or strategies that you found for this event that were like mind-blowing, crazy, or something maybe your opponent did that you're like, whoa, other than the Tesla carbine rolling 5s, a bunch of crits, is there anything crazy?
No, I'm actually sort of a rule lawyer myself. So I actually, and this is not what I recommend anyone that's trying to be competitive do. I've read all the rules except for like a couple niche teams like Blades of Cain. I've read pretty
Blades
much
of Lame?
No, don't say that.
I think we can call them Blades of Fame now.
Yeah, they did it. You know.
I go and read pretty much all the competitive rules for teams that I might think I'm playing against. So I try to know the rules pretty in and out. Unfortunately, Void Dancers was not on my radar, which, but good thing I played against them last edition.
They still
Overall,
cheat. It's fine.
Overall, I went in with a pretty good understanding of what was going to happen. I think for people that I've caught off guard with stuff is that the sorcerers just move really quick. So I know this is something that people don't think about often, is taking Flux Blast from another sorcerer and then moving the guy fully forward with the Destiny because he has fly, and then he's the guy that shoots the Flux Blast instead. That's caught people off guard. The 1 inch, for example, in Chris's game, to popping the extra boon and giving him the extra inch and then moving all the way forward and then giving him the dash to shoot with a warp fire pistol and then using, I think it's Capricious Plan, I think that's what it's named, and then moving 3 inches to be wholly within 9 of the token to bounce back. Like, there's just so many layers to Warp Coven that I know I've caught people off guard with it. So there was nothing my opponents did. I think, if anything, my opponents were like, this team just fucking sucks. Why do you play it? There's so much shit going on, and I can barely remember. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. I completely understand. Because I also played, I played Hunterclad. And so, like, there were so many steps to Hunterclad that I was like, oh, this is the same thing. I'm like, totally makes sense. And then my opponents are like, dude, this makes no sense. You're just saying shit to me. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I don't know what to say. I'm like, I'm trying to explain it, but there's just so much stuff in the game. So.
Yeah, Hunter Clade players like Alex Squires or Connor from Vox Cascadia, when they speak to me about AdMech and stuff, I just like zone out and my brain turns off and goes to sleep because like I honestly, as a TO, that's like the one team I have not read. Because when I start trying to read that team, I shit you not. Every time I read that team, I want to fall asleep. Doesn't matter if I've had caffeine. I cannot comprehend.
It's simple.
What that team does.
If you get something good, you get something awful at the same time.
Yeah,
Marty, and you're like,
also
why do I even play this?
Or then you can modify like the good thing and then make the negative not that, and then there's other things, and then like yeah, Aphex Twist is playing in my head.
There's so much going on in some of these teams, and unfortunately, I enjoy like all of them, which is like what I think catches my opponents off guard. It's just like there's so many rules and so many layers to the rules. Like it's like, hey, are you cheating me? Or are you just lying to me? Like, what? I don't exactly know. If whatever you're doing, you're just doing, and I'm just like, yeah, I can like point you to the exact page and like everything. I'm trying not to cheat, but like it's an impossible task sometimes, and it's just, you know, you got to have the experience to do it and sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to spend my next hour reading over the Warp Coven rules, and that sounds like so much fun, guys. Let's like, So that's about it.
I think it might be simpler if things didn't layer on top of each other to create like these 24-inch rubber band kills. I think people would be less freaked out. I think just a little bit too much customization, a little bit too many Legos in the tower. And it gets to a point where people just can't compute it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kill Team does a good job. I mean, we have like Rekkas, for example, which just came out, which are super simple. But on the opposite side of the box, you have Rattlings, which are
super complicated,
right? And then I think Games Workshop does a good job of trying to like come in at like there's a midpoint for everyone to sort of jump in. It's just when the complicated teams like Inquisitorial Agents or Warp Coven are good, everyone is just like, bro, I don't know your rules though, and you're like the best team. And then you have to sit there as the player explaining it. It's like anyone that's doing that is just it takes the fun out of the game. I just don't know how you would fix it.
Both ways.
Yeah, it is. So it's just hard to fix it because you want the customization, but then how do you bring that level down to like not being like pigeonholed into that idea too? So there's just a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a couple gotcha teams that are definitely higher in the priority list and stuff like that, like inquisitorial agents, denounce, and stuff like that. Really can have some feel bad mechanics. I'm not a big fan of when feel bad mechanics are like in charge of the game. Warp Coven as well, right? Not gonna say they aren't. Legionary are a different kind of
Pain in the ass.
feels bad because the
Extra
Legionary
CP, extra
yeah, they're
CP.
7.
just
Why
like-
is it 7 on turn 2?
they're like, I just do everything better than you, and there's literally nothing
Well, they'll actively make
you can do.
They actively make you bad at what you're naturally supposed to do, right? They're just like, you have -1 to hit me in shooting. You have -1 to hit me in fighting. Your penetration dice. Sorry, Vespid Stingwing. Your entire
Crystal
ability
thing
just
is
doesn't
nothing.
exist anymore.
Yeah.
Why are you here? They say no a lot,
They do.
and the game needs to be more of yeah, but or yes and a lot less no.
Yeah. So Sammy, we were all non-Warp Coven and Legionary players were all praying for a data slate before the Las Vegas Open. And in fact, we're all still looking towards the Emperor's guiding light, we're trying to find our astropaths to guide us in the direction so that we can all start sending letters to Games Workshop to release the data slate, right? Release the Kraken. Is there, for you maining Warp Coven, was that a something on your brain at all? Like you were just waiting the whole, especially when I delayed I was like, hey guys. And I think it was rather reasonable. The reason why I was like, yo, factions are going to be a little bit more crazier because of the data slate, digital teams that we don't have any control of.
That's rough when we can't roll back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking at you're playing one of the most meta teams, looking into that and the stress that you must have felt going into it that I caused because I'm that guy. How does that make you? How did you feel leading up to the event? And then finally Thursday happened, and then I drop a custom data slate, and you're like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. How did you feel that whole time?
And this is just because I do this often for a lot of games. I actually sort of pre-nerfed myself. I went in with the expectation that the team was going to be worse in a lot of aspects. I played a completely different style practicing. I complained, I think in the Salt channel, from not in the squad games, but in a different Discord. I said I practiced twice as much because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if I was going to be doing the OP stuff from 2 months ago or the new stuff that I'm practicing. It's going to be either or. And I already told Dakotah 3 weeks ago that I'm playing Warp Coven. It's locked. I'm not changing my mind. I'm not going to be oh, they're bad now. I'm going to change to a different team. It was going to be Zangors and 3 guys because that was the practice, or it was going to be all the old bullshit. And it just sort of it was the expectation that Games Workshop was going to release something, because I too was expecting something. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know what it was going to end up like, but I just prepped harder. I think I went in with the expectation that maybe the old style of Warp Coven playing 6 Zangors was going to be the style I had to do. Expecting Legionaries was going to get pretty significantly touched so that I had a better chance into them and all this other stuff. But I tried to just keep to what I was doing in terms of this is hopefully going to work if my practice is proving correct. But when they didn't release anything, I was like, well, I sort of was wanting to play 6 Zangors. So when I got to play Blazing Gate, I was like, oh, God, because I got to play all the practice I've been doing. Those are 6 Zangors. Because up to that point, it was just a lot of, 1 rubric and 3 sorcerers and 4 other stuff, which was always the thing you did. So it's just, I went in there expecting to be bad, but it wasn't happening. So it is what it is, I guess.
That's fair. I also wanted to congratulate you on your golden ticket. Games Workshop did give us 2 golden tickets to award. Yeah, and that's not something a lot of people know. But it was also tentative, so we didn't really announce it, right? But it's what Games Workshop does for their own events, since this was the largest. we had one for best overall and one for first place. And for what anyone doesn't know, best overall is somebody who's done really, really good in hobby and somebody who places really, really well at the event. No sportsmanship is taken into account of this. I'm not saying the person who won it is a bad sportsman at all, because it was Orion and he is always a fine
What
gentleman.
a stand-up guy.
In
Ryan's
fact,
great.
yeah, in fact, Orion had, I believe, our favorite display overall, just paint job and everything out of the entire event. And it was specifically because of how he conceptualized everything, how he put the models on. Typically, when you look at like a Plague Marine, anything Nurgle, people go crazy, right? They typically do a little bit too much. It's like looking at the inside of a beast, like they ripped out their entrails and they have models just in there.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, and this was very simple and yet very effective at storytelling, and the models looked great and they were definitely the centerpiece, and it just seemed like one of the best thought out overall displays. It worked well with the lighting. It worked well with just like looking at stuff, in my opinion. And so like paint wise, it was our number one. And so overall he got third place. Right. And I think that's like something really important to celebrate is a best overall category, because a lot of top players, they don't have awesome painting. I'm not saying that they're like to a technical level, right? When we're looking at technical level skills and stuff as a hobbyist. Chris also had an amazing display, and models, but he did take fourth place, which was one below Orion. And then there was a couple other great ones, and we also had Arturo Cortez, which is Mike Cortez's father, go away with my favorite award of the entire event. It's called Triple Threat. You have to have amazing painting, you have to do well in the standings, and you have to have great sportsmanship. No complaints, only positive comments, so on and so forth, and be recognized by the judges. And he won last year, and he also won this year, which is objectively the hardest trophy to win 2 years in a row. This man cannot be stopped. He took 15th overall with an amazing paint job and the utmost class. So shout out to Arturo. So
if he keeps winning that, you're eventually just gonna have to name the award after him.
The Arturo award.
The Arturo. I like it.
That's
cool.
a fun one. Yeah.
Sounds dope.
Yeah.
But and then there's a lot of other great prizes that I think we gave away.
Some people got the terrain set, by the way, and like that was the most repeated question in Twitch and YouTube chat. Easily, Giacamo. You can back me up on this.
I can.
Where do I buy that? Where can I buy that terrain? And I'm like, at the
was
table
it the Necron
over
stuff
there.
The Necron.
The Necron.
Yeah,
especially that one.
All right, I'll start the shop up again this weekend, everyone. All right, I'm sorry.
Orange and green.
Over.
We did it, Twitch chat. We did it.
You can look for base steppers and tokens and token trays, and the Necron terrain specifically.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm gonna sell the Repentant Volcus. It is a pain in the ass to put together.
They really want the Necron terrain, and they want the acrylic dice trays.
Yes, they did love the LVO one.
We'll probably, with all the trays and stuff, kind of how I'm going to be doing it from now on is I'm probably going to make a bunch of them, put them up for a drop, and then sell them, because they're way too hard to make on demand, which is what I used to do. So it's a lot easier for me just to make stuff, build it, put it on, and then sell out, and then just do that over and over. So
semi-monthly releases.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to be notified for drops and that kind of stuff.
Patreon is the battle pass for all of these limited Luster's Workshop drops now.
Yeah. That and the Patreon. I think we're much more active on the Patreon on Discord. So if you're in our Patreon, make sure you're in our Discord as well, because we do talk and we do custom streams and stuff like that in there too. Coming to the end of this, is there anything that you guys want to shout out and talk about at the end?
I think real quick, I just want to shout out my club, Acadia Fight Club in Sacramento. We host stuff every Thursdays and Fridays at 6 at a couple places. You just got to join our Discord. So if you're part of the local SAC area and just want to get a kill team game in, we're always doing teaching games. And we have a great group of players. I think we've grown. I think every day or every night we have at least 16 players now. Which is phenomenal for us because we started with like 3. So it's great to have so many players coming out, and especially new players too. So we're seeing a lot of new faces. So shout out to John and Shay, who are my other 2 TOs and the main TOs that run a lot of stuff. They're awesome. And the whole reason I'm still in the hobby, because I came in a little bit later after they did, but their warmness and their kindness, that's why I'm here. That's the whole reason I keep saying vibes, is because I'm here for the vibes. So
That's fair. I want to give a shout out to John specifically. When I go to, and Alexander Popov, of course, but John specifically, when he is by far, at any event that he goes to, he is one of the most helpful people in general. Like he'll come early. He come this day before, help set up. He did it at LVO. He does everything up north. I don't think he's attended one of our Southern California events yet, but I know that he would. John is the TO homeboy. He knows how it is to run events.
Yep.
He knows how it is. And Shay comes by as well, but John's always been there. He's somebody that I can lean on. I can talk shit to when I have stress, Giacamo gets him wet on occasion.
Yep.
By spilling water in his lap. Yeah, spilling water in his lap specifically. He literally is like, oh, and throws it, and he's like, oh no, my lap's wet. But shout out to John. I also want to shout out the staff in full. Sheldon did an amazing job. Kill Team Stream, we wouldn't be here without him.
Thank you.
Marty, you did an amazing job casting. We are happy that you're a part of the team, and I've heard nothing but compliments about your radio voice and how you interacted with Twitch. You're also great at shouting out stuff on different Discords, Twitch streams, and other things, and just connecting the whole thing. That's something that I'm terrible at, Giacamo, again, you always do a fantastic job. We've been through it thick and thin, learning from the ground up, and without you and without me being able to bitch to you the most, I'd probably have an aneurysm by now. Evelyn and Katie were both members behind our vendor table at the event. Our vendor table was extremely successful. We dropped a brand new item called the micro tray, which is a 3D printed and laser tray, which I have to send one to Marty, which it's right behind me.
That direction. Wait,
Marty's payment right now.
It is Marty's payment. He came over. I showed him when he came over back on December 22nd to do the Twitch run through and podcast, and both Giacomo and Marty fell in love with it. So I knew it was going to be a hit.
Smash hit.
Yeah. And it sold out on Friday. And I was like, well, I wish I could have made more of those, but
I had one set aside for me and they sold it out from under me. That's how good business was.
It was crazy. It was definitely crazy. It was, we had 2 of my glow forges running, not the big ones. So we were able to make tons and tons of product, help support everyone. I want to shout out Saya. First go back to Evelyn and Katie. They did a great job running the store and selling product. And without them there, it would have been really difficult to be able to, for Saya to function or have her help at narrative. I wanted to shout out Saya specifically for making all of this work, right? She takes on extra duties in the household when I have to work on LVO stuff, and it is extremely stressful for her. And I'm sure any father knows that sharing the load is something. But when you're working on something like this at LVO, we work 120 hours a week or more. Sometimes I can be not as good with family matters that I need to be, and that's something that I'm going to work on. But I also want to shout out both of our judges, which is Mike And Robert, again, I've done it a couple times. They didn't get enough recognition at the event. They both did an amazing job. So I think the staff overall, and heaven forbid I forgot somebody, but anyone that ended up helping anyone who helped us set up or put things away, thank you guys very much. Sorry for the long shout out on this one.
Nothing wrong with that. Marty, how about you?
Oh, all right. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for welcoming me as a guest in my first opportunity for this, for coaching me up on what I needed to learn, answering my questions, and making me feel welcome. Means the world to me. I really do appreciate it. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my wife, Liz, for watching all of our kids and everything at home while I drove across the Mojave Desert up to Nevada for like 4 days and then back for the chance to yell at Twitch chat, I guess. And shout out to everybody that watched, everybody that came out to make the event happen, and everybody that came to cheer on all those players. We love that cycle of love. If you can't be here in person, being there digitally, cheering on your favorite players, booing the Warp Coven rules, but not Sammy, because everybody loves Sammy.
Yeah.
It just makes it everything for us. And I, look forward to hopefully being able to do this again, maybe next year. And, other than that, in the meantime, going to be playing here locally. I want to shout out Ironheart Wargaming in Mesa and Old World Games in Scottsdale, Arizona, for continuing to keep Kill Team alive here in the East Valley of Phoenix.
Very nice.
If there's anything we can do to help with that, make sure you let us know, Marty.
Please, yes. We will.
We'll be in touch.
I'll do my spiel real quick because this is what I do. So if you want to join the conversation, you can join our Discord or leave a comment in the YouTube. Doing that, we get to hear what you think about the game, what you think about what we're doing, and you can share those opinions, and we'll respond back because we're terminally online. You can also check out the YouTube channel itself if you want to watch Javi Highlander. More coming very soon, or any of the previous battle reports coming out as well. So you can take a look and see some of your favorite teams highlighted, and of course we'll be putting more of those out as time comes on. You can check us out on Instagram. We will be posting photos of the showcase, the painting showcase stuff, pictures of the events like the award ceremony, stuff like that. If you want to just keep your finger on the pulse over there. And I want to shout out Green Tower Games for keeping our scene alive out here in Santa Clarita, or a place for us to play more often. They reached out to us, and we really appreciate that. And we're going to do what we can just to try to game more locally more often, so we can get a little more of a scene happening in our area. And that's it. That's my thing, and if you want to support us in a different way, we have a Patreon as well. And if you can't do that, as just liking this video in any other way is always appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I want to give out one final shout out, and that is to Sammy. Mm-hmm. I think that he had a really large, well-deserved win. And I think that without players like you coming into the scene, and without everyone else, we wouldn't have a game. And I think that you had a huge accomplishment. The hardest task at LVO is to win 158 players, right? With narrative involved, and all that kind of stuff. So great job, brother. And I'm glad to have you a part of the community, and may your future be amazing.
Oh, what the hell? What's going behind me?
Nice.
I have no idea.
You got some there.
Did I do it again?
I don't know. Both thumbs have to be in there.
You did that. That was incredible.
In the camera.
I appreciate Dakotah. I'm proud to be a part of the community. I know, with the drama and stuff, people are like, this is how everyone is. No, I promise you, from a competitive player at the top table, even from when I started at the lower, there's so many nice, beautiful, awesome people. Every time you go to a tournament, you'll meet so many amazing people, and really coming from a competitive background of Magic and all these other card games and stuff, I promise you, Kill Team is just so nice, guys.
Way
They're
more
just
chill.
So much more chill than anything you could imagine.
The next time I play you, I'm going to bring a bottle of lube for you, okay?
Please don't, man. That joke, that was, oh boy. Oh, man.
I gotta hear the story.
It's mostly for me.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, all right, good night, everybody. We'll just sign off there.
See ya.
Man.
See ya.
All right, bye, everyone.
The Squad Games podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at lestersworkshop.com/squad-games.